So this is going to be my review for Onyx Storm by Rebecca Yarros. Because it's a new release, I do want to do one part in the beginning here that is spoiler free in case you haven't finished it or haven't gotten to the book yet. I do want to talk a little bit in spoiler free terms before we get into my read along / spoiler review of this. So first of all, this started out really strong in my opinion. There were a lot of things that I liked about this that I think it did better than some of the previous books. Like particularly the world building, I think it did a much better job on the world building side of things because we got more of the world, but like in a way that still fit with the plot, and we just got to explore the world a little bit more than in the previous books. I will say there were like a couple of instances where like a name would be thrown out there and I'd just be like, who is this? But eventually like the author did get to explaining who those people were, but I still feel like there were some instances of that where I was just like, I need a little bit more from you here, but it's okay. And then the other thing was like the needless deaths. I feel like the first two books had a lot of like needless deaths, whereas this one, most of the deaths in this one at least didn't feel like they were needless. They felt like they actually raised the stakes of the story. I think part of it was like this is a little bit more wartime than the previous books, which were more held in the school. So because of that, I feel like that actually really helped me enjoy most of the story, but I did not like the ending. I just felt like ending, as opposed to the previous novels where like the ending seemed to like raise the stakes, this one I actually feel like the ending kind of lowered the stakes at times, and then even to the point where like it had like the same stakes as before. So like that didn't work for me. And then the other thing that didn't work for me was the romance was not working for me. I felt like Violet and Xaden were giving me kind of Edward and Bella vibes in this book in a way that they didn't in the previous books. So that kind of annoyed me as well. So overall, because of that, and specifically because of the ending, I ended up only giving it 3.75 stars, but I still did enjoy most of this book quite a bit, and I am excited to see where the next book in the series goes. I will say, I think part of like what colored my enjoyment of this was because I kind of did expect it to be the last book in the series when I started the book, and then it was like about halfway through that I noticed on Goodreads it had a fourth book like already announced, and I was like, oh, so this is not a finale. So that kind of made me a little bit disappointed in the series, but other than that, I still enjoyed reading this. Now, if you have already read this and you're okay getting into spoilers, I do have a lot of thought with the spoilers that I want to go over. So from here on out, it's going to be a spoiler review, and we'll start with the read-along portion. So Onyx Storm did arrive on time. I'm pretty excited about this. I liked my reread of both Fourth Wing and Iron Flame way more than I was expecting to, so that makes me quite excited to go into Onyx Storm because the endings of both of those books were fantastic. Alrighty, so I was able to pick up Onyx Storm and I read the first 10 chapters, which I know is a lot. So I'm right about there now, which by the way, this is gorgeous, isn't it? Like, it is absolutely gorgeous. Everything about it. I love it so much. I didn't get a chance to look at the map yet. The inside is gorgeous. The outside is gorgeous. Like, literally, it is just a plain black book though. So, I mean, it's fine. Like, I wasn't expecting to be crazy. I'm enjoying this so far. A lot has happened. The most recent chapter I really liked, but before that. So, Xaden is a Venom now, which we found out at the end of Iron Flame, but like everyone seems to know this. At least all of like their like friends and stuff seem to know this, and I'm just like, how are you gonna keep this secret? Because if like Colonel Atos, or now General Atos, any of like the king or any of the other like leaders find out, like they're gonna kill him, or they're gonna try and kill him. So I don't know. I did mention in the Iron Flame, the read along that I did, that I thought they were gonna like find a cure, or I don't know, something else. So either they're gonna be the enemies in the next book, or we're gonna find a way to fix them. I'm hoping for the latter, but I'm on the cure front here. They're gonna find a cure because she mentioned she's looking for a cure, and you know Violet, if she is looking for something in old books, she's gonna find the answer. That's just what happens in these books. But you know what? I'm okay with it. I want him to be cured, so I'm okay with it. He was also raised to Duke. He's now the Duke of Tarandor, which is fun. There was that whole little incident, the politics, they couldn't come to like a good resolution in the politics, and then Violet decides to like break into the wardroom to like add the Griffin Riders to the wards so that the Griffin Riders can use their magic inside of Basgiath. Which, first of all, if you could have done that, why didn't we just do this before? Why didn't we talk to people about doing it? But also, like, how did she get away with it? Like, I understand the reasoning that the book gives, that it gave them a reason to actually negotiate and they signed the treaty, so now they're all like pardoned for it or whatever. But but I feel like that was just way too easy. Like, that doesn't make sense to me. I feel like there are so many like barriers that are just so easily overcome. So I don't know. The last chapter, I had to literally stop listening to it in the middle of the chapter because my heart was pounding so hard. They went into the front because of like that whole incident. Now General Atos is like the leader of Basgiath, and he's like, oh, you guys, your punishment's gonna go to the front for 2 days. And then one of the Griffin Riders' families is like in danger. So they go to save Marin's family. They are ambushed by Venin because of course it was a trap that was set by the Venin. The one that knows Violet has silver hair and wields lightning. So she's Violet? I don't know. It's fine. But the part that I was so scared about was Taryn, because Taryn seems to be injured. I don't know if he's gonna be okay because I have not started chapter 11 yet. I'm so sad. Like, I'm already so sad. Like, please don't kill Taryn. Like he is one of the few people in this story that I will be so heartbroken if Taryn ends up dying, because almost any of the other dragons, like even Andarna, like I love Andarna. She is such a sweetheart, but I would prefer they kill her over Taryn because Taryn is just my favorite. So I don't know if I can continue on with the book tonight, because if that does happen, I don't want to see it happen. I mean, there was like a little hint that the bond was coming back from Violet and that there was the other dragon that got like knocked out or whatever. So like, I don't think he's dead, but I can't handle it right now if he is. So I'm gonna have to put it down and we'll get back to this tomorrow, but really enjoying it so far. So I just finished chapter 14, which first of all, Taryn is okay, which I'm so happy about, but I feel like I would respect this novel and this series a lot more if he wasn't. Like, for a series that has so much death in it and so much supposed high stakes, there have only been 2 meaningful deaths that I can think about, and one of them I didn't even care about that much. That's kind of how I feel about that. I'm glad that he's okay. Like, I'm so glad that he's okay, but I feel like there should be some lasting consequences, because now the emotional roller coaster that I went through feels meaningless, if that makes sense. I feel like a lot has happened, but most of it also feels meaningless. So, I mean, there was this whole thing about Violet and Xaden being separated again because, like, I guess Sigale will be allowed inside Basgiath, but Xaden wouldn't be. But then he gets a job teaching the new class, which is Signet against Signet, because now apparently we know that the Venin can use Signets, which I kind of guess, like, if they are all powerful, why would they only have lesser magics? Like, that doesn't make sense. If anything, I would expect the Venin to be able to use anyone's Signet, or all of the Signets, or whatever that means. Like, maybe they're able to mirror the magic of the person that's fighting them. That would make sense, because when Violet was fighting that one Venin, they were wielding lightning against her. So, like, I feel like that would be interesting if that happens, but I don't know. I don't know where this is going, except they have a class now to deal with that, so should be interesting. Oh, and because now he's a teacher, they can't be in a relationship, because obviously it's against the code, which, I mean, it should be against the code. Absolutely. The fact that he thinks that they're gonna get some sort of exception, even though they know Colonel Atos hates them, General Atos hates them, it is what it is. But apparently there's something they need to steal from General Atos now, because it was part of Violet's father's research. So now they need Dane to help steal it, because you have to be part of the bloodline or whatever. So, like, of course they're involving Dane somehow, even though, like, I don't even know why Dane's involved anymore. Like, I feel like if we're gonna kill a character, Dane would have been a good one to kill. I'm just saying, I feel like he would have been a good one to kill, because we didn't care that much about him, but we liked him enough and he's been on the page enough that we kind of do still care about him. So it would be heartbreaking for Violet to lose her best friend. But anyway, it is what it is. We'll see how this goes. I'm reading this a bit slower than I had planned to, but I think I end up liking it better slower, because I sat with the pain of Taryn being potentially hurt for a long time, and it made me more interested in the book than if I had just read chapter 11 right after chapter 10. I'm okay with only reading just a few chapters at a time. So we're just gonna ignore the fact that Xaden basically got away with attacking the Crown Prince, right? Yeah? Okay, I just finished chapter 20, so 6 more chapters into it, and that's my way of saying there's a new love triangle in town. I actually like this one quite a bit, because I don't like Holden, and I don't think he's meant to be likable, but I kind of like the idea of Xaden being jealous by this. Partially because they already have that barrier they have to overcome with Xaden not being able to, like, really touch her, but, like, he's touching her anyway, so is it that much of a barrier? And then also the barrier of him being her teacher. So now, having a third one, I think the author's finally going back to, like, like stacking conflicts together that she did in the first book that I feel like was absent from the second book. So I'm enjoying that aspect of the novel very much. I'm also excited to see where like her father's journal is going and all of those things as well. I do think they overcame the barrier of Dane having to steal it from his father a little too easily. We were all worried that Dane was gonna be like betray her or get caught or something, and then it was just like, oh, he just got it like so easily. So yeah, I don't know, I feel like that was a little annoying, but I am enjoying this so far and I'm excited to see where it's going. They're about to go on the quest where Violet got to choose her own squad finally, because of course Holden let her choose her own squad because obviously he likes her, or he just wants to make Xaden jealous for some reason, which is a possibility. That is very much a possibility. Oh, the other thing that happened in this chapter that I thought was a lot of fun was we got to see the signet fight between Xaden and Violet, which I did think was just a fun scene to have included, and it was also like a nice scene to picture, if that makes sense. Like I like getting the imagery of the story, and that was one of the few scenes that I feel like I could really picture very well, so I really liked that as well. So I needed an audiobook and I had Onyx Storm already, so I decided to start listening to Onyx Storm today, and I kind of forgot that it wasn't my main audiobook. Like it wasn't meant to be my main audiobook. Like I meant to read this more physically, but I don't know, it's a testament to this book that I was just so interested in it that I kind of forgot what I was reading, because like when you do read it fast, it's hard to not be interested in what's going on, because the author like at the end of each chapter finishes the chapter with like cliffhanger or a new reveal or something. The end of the chapter just makes you want to continue on with the next chapter. So I have a hard time putting it down when I am reading it, especially when I'm reading it fast. Like I had to stop myself because something finally happened. By the way, I just finished chapter 40, so it has been 20 chapters since the last time I talked to you guys. But something happened in chapter 40 that made me realize, oh yeah, this is a book that I actually do like talking about. So they found the Irids, or rather the dragons found them. I did like the scene where like Violet is like realizing that the dragons are there and like they're hiding in plain sight basically. So I did really like visualizing that scene. So I think that part was really well done. I have not continued on with it since I finished that, and I'm not going to pick it up again today because I kind of want to stay with that scene for a little while, because I found that when I stop myself from continuing on, I end up liking the book more because I stay with the anticipation of the next chapter more rather than just like blowing through it like it did the last 20 chapters. There were a few things from the last 20 chapters that I did enjoy, but there were a few things that I didn't either. Like for example, Aric's whole reveal of who he was to his brother, because his brother Holden, whatever. His brother Holden lost his stuff on like one of the other like countries because they killed his like assistant or whatever, because they were stealing from the country. So like, I mean, it was like a execution for like not following the law or whatever, but they almost weren't able to do the negotiations that they're supposed to with that country because of that. I understand why Aric revealed it, so that they would have a prince that they could take with them to like all of these islands that they're trying to get allies for the next war, which it is what it is. It's not that interesting. I think the search for the Irids are way more interesting than trying to get allies, but whatever, it's fine. I just think that like that scene was such a low payoff for a secret that's been held since the beginning of book 2, and that was revealed like halfway through book 3. So it's been held for a book and a half, and yet there was such little payoff for that secret actually being revealed. While like for other things, it has a much higher payoff for something that was set up like a chapter ago, if you know what I mean. There are a few other things that I found interesting, like the whole thing with Xaden's mom. Who knew Xaden's mom was even alive? So that was interesting until it wasn't. And then there was one other thing. I forgot what the other thing was. See, that's the thing. When I read it too fast, there's just so much plot that goes by that I forget how much I was enjoying the things that were going on, or how much I wasn't enjoying the things that were going on too. It's a win-lose situation there. I am excited for what is to come, and hopefully I'll actually end up reading that one physically rather than blowing past it in the audiobook. So I did read 5 more chapters. I'm on chapter 46 now. I do plan on continuing to read tonight. I know that doesn't seem like a lot after like the 20 chapter gap, but I do plan on continuing to read tonight, and I'm close enough to the end. Like there's not that much left on the end that I feel like I could probably finish it by tomorrow, and I don't plan to film again until tomorrow. So I wanted to have at least another like inter chapter update before moving on to like the ending update. They're back back at school and I'm just not as interested in the school stuff as I am in like the war stuff. So like it's not annoying me, it's fine, but like I'm just not as interested in that as like I kind of want to be. I feel like in the first book I was like more interested in that. One thing I will say, I think this book is doing a lot better than some of the other books, is the needless death, because I feel like the deaths that we're getting in this book, there's not as many. Oh, I mean, technically there was more because like 25,000 people died in one city, right? But I feel like the death feels more real in this book. And I think part of it is like it's actual like war death. Like Traeger died in like the negotiations for the army. Like it felt not necessary, but like I saw it coming. It made sense in a way that like a lot of the school deaths to me just don't make sense. So I did like that aspect of this book as opposed to in the other books. A lot of deaths I felt like were just completely unnecessary. So I do enjoy this book because of that. I also am just so tickled by the fact that the Irids completely just don't want to have anything to do with them. That was just so much fun. Those 2 chapters with the Irids were probably my favorite chapters in the entire novel. I think part of it is they've been working towards this so much, and just seeing it denied to them, I think like it makes me want to root for them even more. But it was just a funny way that it happened. But like it's also because of Xaden, who Xaden is. It works with the story, let's put it that way. I will say I don't like the fact that Xaden is a Venom, not because I don't like the conflict of it. I think the conflict of it is actually quite interesting, but he's just giving me so much Edward Cullen vibes now, and I never liked Edward. I keep getting those vibes from him, which I did not before this book, and because I think part of it is just he keeps telling her that she should run away, which is what Edward said to Bella all the time in the first like Twilight novel. Yeah, that's annoying me, but other than that, I'm enjoying this quite a bit, and I think I'm gonna be finishing it soon. Apparently, not everyone knew that Xaden was Venom. Like, the beginning of the novel, I guess I wasn't paying that much attention to who knew and who didn't, but like all of Xaden's friends knew, but I didn't realize that Violet's friends didn't know, but Riddick found out, so now all of Violet's friends know, so like now everyone knows. Are you really keeping a secret? It doesn't seem like it. Whatever, it's fine. I'm excited to see what happens towards the end, because the endings of these books have made me like these books a lot more, and so far I'm liking this one probably more than I did Iron Flame, so I'm excited to see what the ending of this one has in store. So I just finished chapter 54, and Mira now knows that Xaden is Venom, which she actually tried to kill him. Like, I can't believe she actually tried to kill him, but I mean, someone was gonna try and kill him eventually, so I'm glad that someone actually did. Before that though, which is what I want to talk about more, last night I stopped reading at chapter 52 because Karen was hurt again at the end of chapter 52, which I knew it probably wasn't a thing, because the first time it wasn't a thing, but also it wasn't a thing the first time, but maybe that was just foreshadowing to this time. So like I was like, I'm just gonna sit with it for a little while. I just had this feeling like since the beginning of the series that she was gonna lose one of her dragons. I just had the feeling, because like, why do you need 2 dragons? You don't need 2 dragons. You don't need to bond to 2 dragons. I always kind of assumed she was gonna lose one, and I always thought it was gonna be Taryn, because like he's the older one, he's the one that is stronger, so of course we wouldn't expect her to lose Taryn. So then I of course expected her to lose Taryn, but it's not Taryn that she loses, it's Andarna, and it's sad. It's so sad. Like, but at the same time, like, Andarna is off, go like be with her family and stuff, so like I'm not that sad about it. Like, I'd be more sad if Andarna was like actually dead, but like I kind of saw that coming. I'm enjoying this. I do think I'm like really close to the end, and there's not like a big like battle yet. I mean, there was kind of that battle where like the Arids came and saved them from Theophany and like the others, but like I'm kind of waiting for the ending to be amazing, and I don't know where that would go, to be honest. Because right now, like, I like this book, like, the first 75% of better than the other 2 first 75% of those books. Well, the last 25% of both of the previous book, I like currently better than the current last 25% of this book. But, like, I mean, I still have another 10 chapters left, so, I mean, a lot can happen in 10 chapters. These books pack so much, even into just 1 chapter, that I think, I mean, we'll see. 10 chapters, it could be a completely different book by then. Alrighty, so I did finish Onyx Storm. I don't know where the Just Jacket is. I'll find it in the morning, but I did not love the ending of this. I think the other 2 books did something towards the end that made me really love them, but then this one kind of failed on those same aspects. Like, it tried to do the same thing, but didn't succeed in it. So the other 2 books, basically, they had a big death that, like, emotionally involved me in the story. Then they had, like, a satisfying conclusion to the actual, like, storyline that was going on in the book. And then they had kind of like a, whatchamacallit, like a cliffhanger cliffhanger type ending. My issue with this one though is the death I did not care about. Like Quinn was obviously supposed to be the same type of like really emotional death as the other ones, and like I just did not care. Like I think a lot of the side characters are just not well established in this book in the way like the main characters are. Like if it was Violet, if it was Xaden, if it was, I mean, like even like maybe Rhiannon I might care about. Like even when it was potentially gonna be Mira, I was like, one, this book is a little badass for like almost killing Mira, but like I think I would have preferred it to be Mira. But even when it was gonna be Mira, I was thinking like I should care more about Mira's death than I do. And then it wasn't actually Mira, but it was Quinn, and like I barely recognized Quinn as a character in this book. Like that happened to me a lot in this book actually, where I was just like, there was a name thrown at me and I was like, am I supposed to know who this is? Because I have no idea who this is. I think the first one that happened with was like at the very beginning was Atrum. It was like one of the dragons. I think it's Riddick's dragon. And I was just like, am I supposed to know who Atrum is? Like give me some sort of context. And then like in the last chapter, or not the last chapter, but one of the last chapters, it was in Xaden's point of view. It was Berwyn. I was just like, who is Berwyn? Got to it eventually, but like I needed the reminder because Berwyn's not a name that got mentioned in like the majority of this book. I'm sure he was named at the end of Iron Flame, but that was like once in this entire series, and there's a lot of names in this series. So like that happened to me quite a few times that I did not enjoy, and I think the fact that it happened in Xaden's last chapter, like I think that also like hindered my enjoyment of this. And then I think the conclusion, like the killing of Theophany and stuff, I think that was well done. Like I think it was set up well. I think the revelation that Theophany was like a storm wielder was set up well, but I do think that actual revelation did not work for me because her being a lightning wielder seemed like a harder task for Violet to actually overcome than a storm wielder, because a lightning wielder that's more powerful than her would be able to easily overpower Violet. Like she would easily be able to, like whatever Violet throws at her, she would be able to throw back and like worse, right? But a storm wielder obviously would not have the same issues. Violet wouldn't have the same issues with her. So like to me it actually like lowered the stakes of that final battle, and I was like, oh yeah, she's gonna win. But also like I felt like that was kind of like the side plot and the plot that I would have preferred to see, like the cliffhanger from that plot. And then the real plot of the story was Xaden battling with this venom thing that he's going through, and that plot was the one that I wanted the satisfying conclusion from, and that's the one that we ended up getting the like cliffhanger for. The ending did not work for me, and honestly like that colored my liking of this book a lot, because I really do think I was gonna give this a better rating than the other two, but I think I'm going lower than the other two, and I'm thinking 3.75 for this one, which makes me sad. But you know what, there's a fourth book coming. Part of it I think is also I was kind of expecting this to be the third and final book in the series, but like pretty early on I noticed like, oh yeah, there's a fourth book already like announced, even though it's not like there's no like date set or anything. So I realized that wasn't gonna happen, but I think that kind of affected me a little bit in how much I like this book or not. Alrighty, so since there is gonna be another book in the series, I figured I should do a key takeaways section again. So a couple of things that I think we should look for going into the next book is, one, Violet and the cure. Like the Irids did mention that there's no cure for the venom, but I'm still on the front that she's gonna find something. Like why is she looking in all of these books if she's not gonna find something? I think that is something that is coming in the later books, so just something to pay attention to. I think she's gonna find some sort of cure, even if it's not exactly what we want it to be. So I think that's gonna be a bigger theme moving forward. Also, the Irids themselves, obviously Andarna is no longer bonded to Violet, but she did show up at the end. So like she did show up for Violet still, so how is that gonna work? Is she gonna spend most of her time with the Irids, or is she coming back to Violet? I don't know, we will see. But with the Irids, they also mentioned like that they are magic, so like they can change magic. So if they can change magic, could they change the venom potentially? But if they could, then why would they say there's no cure? So like I think there's a lot that needs to be figured out there. And then last but not least, just keep an eye on the venom themselves, because Bodhi's now venom, which I wasn't expecting. I feel like that was kind of underplayed when I was vlogging this, because like I didn't mention it at all because all the other things that happened around that same time were more important to me than that particular instance, if that makes sense. But he's venom now, and then Xaden is gone and he's like with the venom now with his sage, I guess. So what is gonna happen in that plot line? Could be an interesting plot line, especially if we get more Xaden point of views. And then last but not least, we have the, what is it, like 12 hours or so that was taken from Violet's mind by Imogen. So what happened during that time? Obviously she got married, but what else happened during that time? Because I feel like a lot could have happened that we just have no idea about. So it could be interesting moving forward to see what happens. Oh, also, is Mira okay? Like, they did say she was okay, but what kind of injuries is she recovering from in the next book too? Let me know in the comments what you guys thought of Onyx Storm and what you're looking for in the next book in the series. But that is all I have for you. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up to support my channel. I post at least one video per week, but I have been posting a ton of bonus videos, so consider subscribing. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!